and the quality of what you end up, going into your brain, is very much dependent on the person making the choices. Because
Yeah.
equally, I could be, spend the afternoon watching crappy game shows. Same person can make the same choices.
Absolutely. Like I said, you don't never have to leave your house again if you don't want to. You get delivery, you have all the channels, all the internet you want. Basically, it's crazy. And I had 3 channels, so it was at least three times more. But yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. I would just say, like, one thing that I always say with this, people hallucinate too. That's the thing. We expect perfection from whatever the model does, also with an imperfect prompt, but we hallucinate too, or we I don't we call it differently, but it's the same thing. And there's actually something that makes me a bit uneasy in that part with the human expert role, because I mean, maybe you saw this or you heard about this. I work with these models as well, but not as often. So there are, right now we have a very confusing thing happening with, even for people who are deep into this space and they're complaining about it, is when you go to ChatGPT and you have premium or whatever, you see all these different models, right? And if you're not really up to date with everything, you don't really know, like, what's the difference? What should I do now for this task? What kind of model should I use? I don't know. And 4.0 is kind of where we are right now. This is the base model. But then they started with 0.1 and they're now to 0.3. And these are so-called chain of thought models, right? Like, there's a prompting technique there's also chain of thought, and explain this to me step by step. Like, this is the kind of thing, almost like an internal monologue, but spoken out. And these OX models, they have an internal monologue, right? You'll ask them something, and this time, and I mean, they always output tokens, which are more or less words, let's say, for case of simplicity. But they can take a very long time because they have this internal monologue, like they're kind of chain of thoughting to themselves, in a way. And you can, in the past, at least, you could watch it. I'm not sure how restricted this is. And DeepSeek, what they did, they also have a chain of thought model. And it makes me a bit uneasy because I like the way before now, even being this deep in this space where I had control about everything that was happening. But I can see the appeal because you can get good results with much shorter prompts, or, depending on encoding or whatever business case. And then, because now when we are with the role of the expert, right, and then you put agents into the mix, which is kind of like an automated thing. Let's say what was like robotic RPA, robotic process automation, I don't know, probably since the 90s or whenever that started, I have no idea. This is kind of the codified version, or the smart contract of the AI world, I would say. And one of the prime uses of this is to crawl the internet and bring me back some data, some knowledge, and then summarize it for me, right? And now, OpenAI has released, a few weeks ago, I forgot what it's called. It's a research agent, right? And it's not released in Europe yet. I think you have to be a member of the $200 premium tier, which I am not. I admit I only have the second best one. Maybe I should, but I should splurge. But basically, what this does is, you ask it something like, to make research, let's say some scientific research, or for a consulting project. It will ask you some clarifying questions. Sorry, like, okay, tell me about this sector, tell me about the opportunities, the dangers that you can see, like typical, right? Like McKinsey stuff. And then it will just leave you for 10 minutes, maybe longer. I will come back with a whole report, like this, and that's, I haven't tested this. I can't. There are some people, even I'm a lot on Reddit, that they say, send me your prompt, I will test this for you. Like there's people that altruistic, or maybe it's a marketing campaign as well, a beautiful socially engineered marketing campaign. And what do you think about that stuff? Like,
Well,
literally,
I mean, from a technology point of view, it really is quite brilliant, but
yes.
I think, um, what's they say, everything has consequences, does it not? Yeah, and not all of them
Mm.
are necessarily intended consequences. And
Yeah.
the one thing that kind of jumped into my head while you were talking was, one of the great values of humanity is our lack of uniformity of thought. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's always
Mm-hmm.
someone out there with some completely strange idea about something. They dress strangely, they have some strange taste in music, whatever it
Yeah.
is, they're an outlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not the way everybody's going to be. But very often those people can be the spur of ideas that end up in the mainstream. A long, long time later.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that kind of gets me thinking about this whole AI thing, and AI being able to automate lots of these kind of queries and how you do them and what the output is and all, and do this thing, is that people will learn how to do these things the same way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And effectively it will kind of potentially put blinkers on people.
Mm-hmm.
Because the stuff that could have been creative was made so easy,
Yeah.
that we've lost a whole section of creativity because
Mm.
there's bits which we've automated, which then everybody just accepts to say, well, that's the way it is.
Mm.
Um, that's and that's not me saying that I think all these terrible things are going to happen as a result. But it's kind of saying that we won't necessarily always maximize an idea because we didn't leave room for that outlier. Yeah, that
Yeah.
completely what was classed as a completely weird idea at the time, which actually turned out to be the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you
It's.
find, in the germination of ideas and how we interplay between each other, it's not just one person sitting back and having that Einsteinian moment. And even Albert Einstein would admit that he collaborated with lots and lots of people. I mean, that's the way science works. Yeah, in terms
Yeah.
of, yes, he had lots of ideas, but he was developing ideas with his colleagues in various places right through his career. Some better than others, as if he was alive, he'd freely admit.
Mm.
Um, and that's an essential part of how we develop new paradigms in all sorts of things that we do. So there's
Yeah.
a danger, I think, that we lose parts of that because there's bits of it which just become accepted norm. Yeah.
Mm.
And we kind
Yeah.
of skip bits. We won't not do this entirely, but we'll skip large parts of it.
Yeah. It's. I hear you, and actually, a lot of people also on Reddit, for example, which I frequent quite a bit for AI stuff. They share this sentiment. There's even a word for it. It's called AI slop. And this refers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, seriously, this is really good. It's not put as eloquently as you just, as you just did, but it's essentially there is something that I can create that is so easy to create and has some baseline value in a way which is kind of the intelligence of the model or something in a way, a text, a picture, or something like that. But it just feels off, and the quality will sometimes feel off. I mean, sometimes I read now articles on Medium, and a lot of this is point, hyphen, counterpoint, these kinds of things. That's very typical. If you don't train on your own writing, because I told him, I always said Hemingway plus Oscar Wilde. That's what I want. I want really, like this plus my style, whatever. And then it's kind of jumbled up and unique in a way. But if you just, I mean, there are better models out there, obviously, who avoid this kind of thing more. But the outputs look kind of the same and generic, so it kind of lifts every content up to this kind of level. But
Yeah.
is that what we want? Is that quality? Is that understanding? And there's a joke which is now becoming kind of like an older meme almost, is that I use AI to write you. We are in a project. You're the project manager. I'm your subordinate. I write you a summary of the parts that I did, um, and I put bullet points together. I ask the AI to make it big. Make it a lot. Like my boss Brian, he needs to feel that I worked hard. And then Then you use the same model to condense it back into the bullet points so you can add it on your milestone sheet or your Gantt chart or whatever. And this is actually the uniformity. This is quite funny, and I think this is already partially true, and it will be true, and only through education and just training the models better in a way that you have the experts again, right, and to put the right data in, as you also put on your newsletter. It's the garbage in, garbage out problem, but this time we are the garbage. that is our data isn't here because our data is the prompt, right? Yeah.
Well, the other problem with all this kind of data and analysis and all this kind of stuff is managing our own personal egos. Because if you do this kind of stuff, I mean, the people who do this best are very smart people. But very often we like to show off how smart we are.
Yeah.
No need. No one's particularly interested in it sometimes, but we do. And then of course you get information being transmitted that actually no one was interested in, because actually there was no point apart from showing off. Well, wow, I'm really clever.
I do it all the time.
Well, we actually all do it, for fairly regularly, But going back to that consulting report story I was telling you about, one of the things you do with a consulting report is if you're doing it properly at the end, you every single sentence, every single page, every single graph, you go, so what, so what, so what, what's it telling me? What's it adding to the story? Did I need it in 3 places? Did I need 160 pages of this stuff? Etc. 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 And that's. But one of the things that takes out of that is why was that analysis required on page 78 that said something about it, which you look at and you go, well, I don't even know what's there. What does it add to anything? Of course, it's really going to piss off the person who did the analysis, who wants to show off to say, look at the smart stuff I did, and I'm in the report. That you just gotta take the knife and take it out. So there is kind of a danger as we go into this, that just like we've seen with the internet now, we have just a multitude of information out there, and a lot of it is rubbish. A lot of it is plain wrong. We're finding this particularly, say, you mentioned news outlets earlier. I mean, this happens every day now, that someone makes something up, they put it somewhere on social media, and before anyone has an opportunity to say, oh, that's wrong, by the way, it's been around the world several million times. So we fight this whole disinformation thing, which is, it's not, disinformation is not new. But the difference is, the two village guys, having a beer in a bar talking rubbish, now is broadcast globally almost instantly, whatever it is that we're coming up with, and so is everyone else's version of that as well,
Look, I mean, stock prices move because some people on the top of the food chain on Twitter post something, and it can move a stock price, and then news outlets report on that. Offers that should be behind closed doors are made publicly, and then this is the intent. Was it a joke? And then it was a joke or something like that, like takeover, hostile takeover, whatever. And as we can see with the DeepSeek, I don't know how closely you followed this, right? Like China has there are these open source and open weight models, and China has a quite powerful one that you can actually at least if you have a powerful machine, you can run kind of like a lighter version of it on your local hardware as well. Or they put it out there for inference, so it's run on their server, and you have some kind of app on your phone and you can use it. And then, what was it? NVIDIA crashed 17%. That's just...
but what's most interesting about that, Daniel, is that how much money they spent on it. I mean, in the United States and elsewhere, there's tens and tens of billions being spent on this. I mean, you
Yeah.
saw just recently the Americans come out and say they're going to have a fund worth $150 billion to just do AI. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, personally, I was thinking at the time, what are you going to do with 150 billion bucks? Because that's quite a lot of money. You could,
Yeah.
there's
It really
it's going to
nice
be
to,
one. It's going to be one enormous yacht, whatever it is. Yeah, for that kind of money. And then the deep sea thing. I mean, I'm not into all the kind of technical gubbins of it and all that kind of stuff. But they do this, and they do it for 6 billion.
yeah, 6 million. I think it was even. I think
Oh,
I'm not even
anyway,
sure,
something
but
dramatically
low,
smaller. It was
low. Yeah,
small, yeah, than whatever
yeah,
everyone. And that's the real shock is that they've
yeah,
come up. Uh, I'm not going to talk about the quality of it because I don't know. I'm not into that kind
yeah.
of stuff.
It's fine.
They,
It's fine.
they,
Yeah,
but they bring something to market at a gigantically lower cost than what
yeah,
everyone else is doing, which automatically must say, oh, what are we doing? Why are we involving all these resources in something
yeah,
when these other people can do something that seems to be just as good, yeah,
yeah,
for a hell of a lot less? Now
yeah,
that is actually a level of innovation, yeah. And then of
yeah.
course, what's the standard thing that the people in the powers that be will say? Well, of course they must have cheated in some way, mustn't they? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah,
I,
no, of course,
I don't
and
know.
it was
It,
China, so it's bad, and these kinds of
yeah.
things, and nobody, I mean, nobody really knows the figure. It was remarkably lower. Let's agree on that. Because I mean, they released the figure, but we don't know if it's true. And they released a paper, which is, as I haven't read the paper. I cannot say I tested the model, quite good. Um, but I mean, with science, it's like this, and I see this as a science, maybe not collaboration, but everybody kind of has to copy from each other. I recently had a piece published on LinkedIn that goes deep into this and why we still, why everybody still needs GPUs, and maybe this is a bit overblown, everything. And they definitely used kind of well-known methods to get the price down in a way, but maybe they use them in more innovative, let's not get into the details, but they used them in maybe more innovative ways. Maybe and we don't know which kind of GPUs they're used. I think now it come out that is NVIDIA. So I understand the panic in a way, but also, we will all still need GPUs and the models. Basically my summary of this was, okay, I think that we still will need GPUs in the future. Models will become better faster because everybody's competing, geopolitically, open source against closed source and these kind of things. Because I mean, Meta was doing this for quite some time. They released models. They were really good. They were 70% there, but this is like, almost, let's say almost the same or very similar for no no investment from the user. But
Mhm.
what people are also forgetting, the infrastructure. These servers, this was so slow for some time because everybody wanted the free app and stuff like this. People were really afraid that this is, now the moat is gone. Maybe the moat was never there, and maybe the infrastructure is the moat, and things like that. Usability, the app is not good. It's there, it's fine, but it lacks a lot of the features which can be added. But is very interesting. What's also really interesting to me when we look at this, like, kind of misinformation, how social media changed the landscape of the internet is, for me, also one funny thing maybe that I can disclose. My Google use has probably gone down 50 to 70%. I don't have an exact figure, but because of all these search GPTs, perplexities of this world, and I just don't want to see any ads. And when I ask a large language model something, in a lot of, I mean, I don't have
Yeah.
to look at the ads. I kind of verify the sources. If it's business critical, I use all kinds of tools, But if it's some kind of baking recipe, I'm fine. I
Now,
don't
you
have
see,
to look.
this is very interesting, Daniel, because you
Yeah,
see, if we look at the social media and internet as we know it now, yeah,
yeah,
has built on this, the click model, yeah, of advertising and us being bombarded with all sorts of just stuff we're not actually really interested in, but the theory is that they keep bombarding with us Yeah, and that will suck all this stuff up, and buy more cans of Coke and whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
and if something like this actually supersedes their commercial model, forget
Mm.
the technology. Yeah, but it
Yeah.
supersedes their commercial model,
Yeah.
then how do you have ChatGPT or whatever the competitors are with ads?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe
And
you
that.
could, yeah.
Yeah.
Because what's kept the internet open and actually mainly free to us all is that click model. Yeah. So if the click model was to die as a business model and we go down this other route, then all that infrastructure, all those websites, all that stuff, it has to get paid for some way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does that mean in terms of the commercial model of the internet?
Yeah.
It
Abs-
could be completely different,
abs-
or it means we need to have pop-up ads in your AI engine, which would
or
really annoy everybody. Yeah.
or even more horrible and annoying is you have kind of hidden ads in a way that the summary of your research it just leans in one direction, and you don't even it kind of leans in one direction. And is it paid for? Is it not paid for? Is it what is it optimized for? That could also happen. I mean, ethically, there should be somewhere there should be this is the ad part, and maybe this part of the summary is the more neutral one, or gives you the option. That's a dystopian thought for me.
Or maybe in television you have what's called product placement. Yeah.
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 So someone has got that nice can of fizzy cola or whatever it is, which is obviously advertising that in the middle of a scene which has got nothing to do with fizzy cola. Yeah.
Yeah.
So surely you could do the same thing if you say write a novel in the style of Oscar Wilde, advertising these products, by the way, along the way. Yeah. That the scene of, yes, he was in that beautiful Mediterranean village with his can of fizzy cola, sipping on a straw or whatever it is. I mean, you
Yeah.
could do that too, couldn't you? The possibilities are endless in terms of ways that you could do those things in a way that many users wouldn't even notice, but they're still
Yeah.
absorbing the information.
Absolutely, and you could do it in a pseudo ethical way, like what I just described. I mean, was
Yeah.
completely maybe that's not how it's going to be. It's hard to justify, but hard to prove also, because the training data and everything, this is hidden. Nobody knows. And yeah, and the danger, that is definitely a danger. At what we're seeing now, if we would use this right now as the main access point to the knowledge of the internet, it would be a paid access to the internet, because the cutoff point is very soon. For I don't even know how many tokens it is. I mean, I pay for a lot of services, obviously. And for my hardware, so I can run all these beautiful local models. But that is actually a paid internet in a way, as it is now. And what's also interesting, I think, what I saw is I looked for myself on ChatGPT, and on Google I'm ranked number one when you look, because of my LinkedIn SEO that I've been doing, but it's not enough for ChatGPT. I'm there ranked maybe second, not so clear. Someone who didn't do any work at all is ranked number one. Like, is a very and of course, and now I will do SEO optimization because of this. Optimize my link, and large language model search engine optimization will be a thing. Like, a lot of these agencies, or at least some of them, they're picking up on that. You see this on LinkedIn. And one of the things is very funny to me, because how are we accessing the internet? With concrete questions. At least we have one question, and that is our prompt. And that's why a lot of a lot of people are recommending to add FAQs to your website about you, about your product, and kind of mimicking the prompts that you would use to investigate whatever product or whatever service you are offering, so that you can match the prompt, that the agent gets kind of the prompt, and goes and you are ranked first in a way,
Yeah.
from a summary perspective, right? That's crazy. I
But
think
I
that.
mean, to get into, I mean, mentioning the SEO craze, as I call it, yeah.
Yeah.
is there's an awful lot of people who invest a lot in SEO. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I ask the question and say, well, what was the point? Now,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, there's certain businesses where SEO has to be, like if you're something internet retail,
Mm.
hugely important, or you're just not doing business. But say, take a business like mine,
Mm.
um, it's absolutely unimportant, because I can have a website and I do,
Yeah.
where 9 times out of 10, the reason people go to the website is not because they go, oh, look, working capital, and it comes straight there. There's a million
Yeah.
places to go with that kind of search. It's because I bumped into someone and they say, oh, who is this Shanahan guy? And they end up on a website and they find out more.
He
That's what
doesn't
it's for.
even have a website. He doesn't
Yeah.
even have a website.
Well,
Yeah.
it probably does in terms of credibility and stuff like that, but it's not the thing that someone kind of random people don't call me up and go, "My God, I saw your website and it was just absolutely fantastic. I really have to talk to you." Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
listen, it rarely something's like that, but it's
Yeah.
very very rare. Yeah,
True.
to ask anybody who's got any kind of inbound inquiries like that in service businesses like mine, and it's quite rare.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
but at the same time, people spend a lot of money on this stuff, so you could end up with the same thing. The fact that you're number one on LinkedIn or whatever. I mean, I'm not saying that's a terrible thing, but I have no idea of what value that is. Yeah.
No,
Um,
no. When somebody, what I mean, when somebody searches for my name on Google,
yeah.
I just, it's like a vanity project, right? Completely. I don't also know what kind of purpose this serves, but I was ranked number one and I was very happy. And then I thought, and then I investigated why am I not number one on GPT search, and
Yeah.
just trying to understand it. So it's vanity plus science. It's beautiful, beautiful combination.
It reminds me of a few years ago. There were certain techniques you could have for gaining more Twitter followers. So if your
Yeah,
vanity project was, I want to have more Twitter followers than this other person,
yeah,
you can have a lot of time with this, but like, so what? Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it
No.
really, it really didn't make any difference to anybody's world whatsoever. Yeah,
For I mean, for some companies it can make a difference. For maybe
sure.
for us not so much, but for so it's a valid thing. But I was just thinking, do you see, I mean, also in the industry, do you see other use cases also as well? I mean, I know you have a curious mind, and you think about a lot of things, like also in trade and
Uh,
receivables finance, or in your world, let's just say.
I would say the biggest opportunity, is take what I mentioned before, the ERP world. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
There are thousands of major multinationals all over the world. They've spent a fortune on ERP systems. They have gigantic amounts of data, going
Mm.
back many, many years, and they've
Mm.
never done anything with it, even the most basic reports. Forget about AI, they've
Yeah.
never done anything at all, and they sit
Yeah.
on this stuff and they're not even curious about it. They might not even be aware, of all the stuff that they've got,
Mm.
But I'm sure if they talk to their IT server guy and say, how much data is actually sitting on all our servers about all this stuff? And some of it is absolutely gigantic. Yeah. Now,
Mm.
and the only people who really use this, I mean, if you talk to big FMCGs, and you're talking about how many chocolate bars you sell and where and what what the age group of the people who buy, I mean, they do enormous amounts of work, marketing
Mm.
folks,
Mm.
on this stuff when they do have that kind of data. But there's
Yeah.
many other fields. I mean, we touched on very briefly inventory management. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
inventory management. Anyone who does this, will tell you it is so dependent on quality data.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
dependent, of which we've got absolutely gargantuan amounts of the stuff. Yeah, and we do
Mm.
nothing with it. Nothing.
Mm.
Yeah, the
Mm.
number of times you'll see this on ERP implementations, time after time after time. Yeah, doesn't matter
Mm.
what country, what company, whatever it is. The IT project is coming to an end. It's usually running over budget, over time. Yeah, someone says, "How are we going to speed up the project?" Tell you what, let's chop the reports. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Does
is
the thing
it
get
is
implemented on time? Yes, it does, but it's got no reports. Loads of data, yeah, but no one's any the wiser in terms of all the big value things that people were supposed to get from these systems. They didn't get because there was no reports. Now, if we kind of go on from that, so the potential, yeah, of something like AI is to, why can't you just go to company X who's got this big ERP system with millions of bits of data and they got no idea what the hell to do with it, and just say, listen, I'm just going to let my AI go completely wild on your ERP system and see what it comes up with.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you can do that. I mean, definitely you can do. That would be probably large language model, but combined with something else, with some other machine learning techniques to find patterns and things like that. But if you have, for example, if you have a lot of data and you have a goal in mind, like, I want to improve my risk assessment, for example, and these are the questions. If I could ask them to the smartest risk person in the world about my business, these are the ones I would ask. This is something that I'm kind of dreaming of, because if we talk about invoices, for example, in factoring, like payment data, or like transactional data, invoices, tracking behavior, this is something that we've been doing for ages with rules-based systems, right? Like like the jump, like, and for me, I wrote about this also years ago. It would be for me like the jump from chess, which is very rules-based, very brute force AI, which beat Kasparov in 96, 97, something like that. The jump to make to the game Go, with where you just have too many possibilities, and you have to work with kind of decision trees on the fly. You cannot brute force your way to the best decision. There are just too many decisions on the field. And I'm trying to think the same way for a use case for risk, where we kind of find new patterns in the data, but maybe it's more about adding more data points to it.
Well, what's interesting is
Yeah,
I can think of actually numerous cases, but let's take
yeah,
the point of risk. Yeah,
yeah.
customer. Yeah. What people very oftentimes don't recognize properly is there's two completely different kinds of risk. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
One risk is that my customer goes bust and I lose all the money. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And actually, if you look at most credit insurance models and stuff like that, that's what they're trying to work
yeah,
on. And
yeah.
they could argue that they have been doing this for decades. Personally, I don't think they do it very well. Yeah, I think they're massively conservative in what they try to do because they behave like all credit institutions. They have to be conservative, and they tend to be too conservative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, the actual real risk that most businesses have is not that their customers are going to go bust in the morning, is that they're going to get paid late or later
Mm-hmm.
than they expected. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a risk that is very badly defined. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So because equally, and I've done this, to understand with real data, what's the relationship between the risk of going bust
Mm-hmm.
versus the risk of paying late. They're completely different. In fact, you can have those companies that you get lots of accountants and they think because I have a late paying customer, they're a big financial risk because they could go bust. That's
Mm-hmm.
actually not true. There
Mm-hmm.
are many companies who are paying you early and they're
Mm-hmm.
going to bust. You can argue because they're paying you early, yeah, they shouldn't be doing it, yeah, and they're doing
Uh,
it to everybody else as well, yeah.
yeah.
So it doesn't fit at all. There's all these random behaviors all over the place, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
particularly with the payment behavior bit, yeah, that it has numerous implications, yeah. Uh, the one of the most important ones is ask any good treasury person anywhere to say how much are you going to receive in payments from your customers next week.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That
Yeah.
doesn't seem terribly complicated, does it? It's actually
It's
hugely complicated. Yeah, it depends on the industry you're in. Yeah, if you're in the insurance business and you get paid everything up front and all that kind of stuff, that's simple. But if I sell boxes of cornflakes, yeah, that's
mm-hmm.
actually really complicated. I have thousands of customers. I have hundreds of products. I
Mm.
have so many variables. I'm in different geographic areas, and one place got flooded, and the other place had a fire, and uh,
Mm,
there's a whole bunch of different things going on every single day. Yeah,
mm,
and and the dream, if you're in treasury, is I know
yeah,
exactly, I can predict just 1 week in advance exactly how much money is going to be in the bank. Because if
yeah,
I can do that, yeah, then I can optimize my use of funds. Means
yeah.
I know exactly what facilities I need. If I have more than I need, I can place it on overnight deposit and things like that quite safely because I know exactly what's going to happen. And all. But of course, we live in the real world, yeah, of uncertainty. And the thing is, we all know that the further we go out in time, so if we go out 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months,
Mm,
it becomes more uncertain what that profile looks like. But even if you ask what's going to happen tomorrow, yeah,
mm. It's hard.
that's actually quite uncertain. Yeah. And
Hmm.
and now if you talk to a mathematician, yeah, yeah, they will start introducing stuff like probability mathematics,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
which are quite complex, yeah,
Mhm.
and gets even more complex when you're talking about potentially thousands of outcomes every day, yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And it's one of the things that many models up to now have struggled with because they just, quite frankly, they don't have the computing power to do it. Yeah.
Mm. To
So
to
I see a situation where I'm not sure AI is going to be powerful enough to do this because when you get
yeah.
in very large customer bases of thousands and thousands of customers and so on, yeah, like you would
Mm,
do with a standard FMCG, yeah.
mhm,
Um, this becomes very, very complex. Yeah.
mhm.
But then the next problem is that even if you could solve the problem, is this a problem that people perceive to be a problem? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And many treasurers actually don't. Yeah.
Mhm, mm.
So if you ask them to say, well, how much money are you going to receive next week? And they go, I don't know, or there's a very large degree of uncertainty about it, and they live with that, it's
Mhm,
because, quite frankly, most people have enough in their facilities to be able to they have a buffer, yeah, that they
mhm.
can manage. So if it
I
all goes wrong, it's like, okay, well, it went wrong, big deal, we're okay, yeah.
have
It's
my
when you're
rainy day.
it's when you're not okay, yeah. I mean, it's like someone's said to me something such and such. Oh, it only costs €1, for whatever it is. Yeah, but the truth is, €1 is an awful lot of money if you don't have it.
Yeah, it's a rainy day fund for treasury. I
But that's just one example. And so, could you solve the issue with
mm,
using the power of AI to do this? Yes, you could. Yeah,
mhm,
but
mhm.
then does actually someone see it as a problem that needs to be solved? And a lot of
Yeah,
people don't.
yeah.
And quite frankly, a lot of people in Treasury don't even understand the problem. You know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'm absolutely, I'm far removed from this world. I mean, of course, I had context, but I'm not a treasury practitioner. But what I mean, if I would try, if I would say, okay, maybe there is a problem, or we can get closer to the truth. That's what I always try to do. Um, then, or in factoring, for example, what I would just say, what kind of questions would we want to ask if we had the data? And then we go from there. Which kind of data points can we add to ask these kind of questions? Not to get certainty, that is probably not possible, but we can give, maybe, if we talk about large language models, of course, and interrogating data with large language models, risk data, we just need to be um, sure that we can get to better data, more data points, and asking better questions. And for that, we
Yeah.
that would be my goal. And I'm not so much worried about the computing power, actually, anyway. But because I think that, I mean, obviously on a big corporate level, it's that's different than doing a report or something with even 100 documents or something like that. That is,
But I think then it returns us to the expert point. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Because we can have all of this, yeah. But if we don't have the person who's asking the right questions,
Mm.
all of this is for nothing.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. I really hope that will be true in the future too, but I also have hope for that.
No, no, no. I mean, listen. To be fair, we have a lot of people who are asking a lot of the right questions. Yeah.
Yeah,
but the more prevalent all of this stuff is, yeah, we're going to find that we have more people asking more questions, yeah, and inevitably we'll still have the ones doing the quality stuff, and we'll have a lot of people doing not so quality stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is true, and evaluating the outputs, that will be that could be the main work. Those 20%.
And how many times in the future are we going to see something, where, like the newspaper thing, but it could be, oh, we've just done this survey of, rather than kind of doing the telephone surveys or internet surveys of people, the survey will be, we trawled the internet of all these things in the past 3 years, blah, 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 but it's all rubbish because the initial data was disinformation to start off with. Yeah.
Sure. You see it a lot of times with when you do a search of something that is not a good domain to use a large language model for, and then you click and this is rubbish, but you can look at the sources. It will tell you the sources where it found, and like, well, this is an old blog from whatever, a person that I don't trust or that I don't know, and that's
But what's interesting in that is branding is going to start becoming quite important, because if you have a multitude of AI engines out there who can do all these different things, yeah, like we've mentioned ChatGPT, we've mentioned DeepSeek, but there's others obviously, but a lot is going to come down in the future as to who do we trust.
Yeah.
And we've seen this in the social media world. So if we see information on Facebook, on X, on whatever it is, do we trust that it's actually real? Yeah. And those guys in the past spent a lot of money on people who were filtering all this stuff to say, is it true? Is it this? Is it that? And all this. Now, obviously, they're trying to get away from that, because that's primarily what they spend money on. It's not computing power, it's people, yeah, to go and filter all this stuff. So, what we're going to see again is we're going to see people who think they're going to be able to get around that. So if we're using one of these engines to go, tell me, what are the best locations to go on holidays on this particular island? Yeah. Is the information coming back going to be something, forget about whether it's true or not. Is it something that we believe? Yeah. Because that's the power of a brand. Yeah.
And it's gonna be, I agree with you that this could be, I mean, who knows, a major problem actually, that the internet that we have now is already changing with all this AI generated content, and some of it is so sophisticated, the images, let's say especially the images, and also video snippets starting to pop up because there's AI video generation, and what can we trust? I mean, from the image alone, it's very hard to tell. It's mostly the context because it's so ridiculous in a way in some cases. But that could become a big problem actually. That we how do we even verify the source, because you can counterfeit any picture.
Yeah. And it'll come down to people's trust and knowledge. And I'm reminded in this particular case of if you talk about if you went to a party in the 70s, and to talk about drugs, what people saw at most regular parties in suburbia was quite limited,
sure.
But that was then, and people had a lack of knowledge and a lot of ignorance and all that kind of stuff. Now you look at this, if you're a 16-year-old going to a party these days, everything is there on the menu. And I mean everything. So the idea that, well, we won't tell our kids about this because, hopefully they'll never see this. Well, they will. And so in that particular case, and you talk to people who are into drug enforcement or rehabilitation or whatever, they'll tell you it's all about education. This is actually the same. But in some ways, we can't prevent all this disinformation and all these poor quality players and all. They're going to be there, whatever we do. So somehow we have to find a means of educating people to distinguish between that's true or that's false or that's quality or not such good quality. And then people are going to have to make their own minds up. And of course, be prepared for people who are going to make mistakes along the way with that, because we're human.
Well, absolutely. I'm really curious how it will all pan out. But this part is really that's a scary part in a way, because we never had that happen in the human history, that you can easily manufacture something that looks so real. It took at least some Photoshop skill, and even then, it didn't look like it. Or it was interesting, good stuff. Is there, yeah, because I was just wondering, is there anything that we didn't talk about right
I
now,
don't.
or any case that we talk that you wanted to get off your chest, or
No, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
thanks, Brian, for your time. Really cool. Like super nice topics and insights, and also to the audience. Hope you enjoyed this. I think we'll release it in 2 parts, and see you in the next one.